What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. I've got some auctions as well as some buy it nows for various loose graded action figures, and we've got it's a pretty weird assortment, I would say, for this video, because I feel like in the current environment, if you've been watching some of my videos, like my What Did We Learn video from the COVID era bubble, it seems like prices are a little bit all over the map, and a lot of it depends on who's out there looking right now. When possible, try to aim for auctions right now, because even in the really rare stuff, like, for example, a vinyl Cape Jawa came up for auction in high grade, and I just think that in general, unless you absolutely have to have it, be patient, wait for an auction, because the deals are going to be out there. And even with the rare stuff or the very desirable stuff like a vinyl Cape Jawa, they're going for fair market value right now. So I don't think there's any need to overpay for stuff. And no offense if you happen to be the buyer or the seller for some of these items that I'm going to show you, because I do think there's some overpays in this batch, and there's some good deals as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. And we're gonna escalate things fairly quickly. Okay, the first item is that AFA 80 plus vinyl Cape Jawa, new case style. Very tempting item here. It was very tempting. As you guys know, I sold my AFA 85 old case style earlier last year so I could take that money and give it in the form of cash to my nephew, who is about a year old, and they just started up a college fund using that money. So I just wanted to do it. I thought it would be kind of a cool thing to do. But as a result of that, now I don't have a vinyl Cape Jawa anymore. So this one was kind of tempting, because I think if I do buy another one, it would be at a lower grade. The other one was an AFA 85. This one was an 80 plus the new case style. So I was very tempted on it, but I'm trying not to spend big money right now on any action figures. And I actually think that in my video, when I highlighted this one, it might have been a what to buy video, I said that it would probably sell fair market value around $2,800. So I was pretty close. I mean, given that this was at auction, you never know what's going to happen. And the fact that it came within about $58 of my estimate of what I thought it was worth, that makes me feel good that if you happen to watch that video and decide to buy it, then I feel like you didn't overpay for it. I think this is fair market value. And you know, even a vinyl Cape Jawa, as nice as this is, even these are coming up at auction right now, because, you know, you never know what the story is behind this particular item. Maybe they're just divesting. Maybe they've gotten their nostalgia fix, like we talked about in my collectibles bubble video. Maybe they're diversifying. Maybe they're doing what I'm going to be doing in 7 or 8 years, which is paying for my kids' college education with some of this plastic junk behind me. So, but I think that $2,858 was a very fair number. That's a number I'd pay all day long. I sold my AFA 85 old case style for, I think, $3,200, $3,300, somewhere in there, which I think was fair for what it was. And I don't feel like I was unfair to the buyer on that one. So, but anyway, I just thought that was an interesting data point. Next up, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got a buy it now for this AFA 85 Death Squad Commander, Star Destroyer Commander, new case style, admittedly, very nice looking example. This was the dark blue emblem, which is the most common, the Hong Kong. So this one sold for $325. Okay, to me, I wouldn't pay that right now, because I think this is going to come up in an auction at some point in the near future, and I bet you get it for under $275. I bet maybe even under $250 in the current market environment. Now, all of that being said, do as I say, not as I do, because this seller also had an AFA 85 Taiwan Chewbacca for sale. And it was too high, which I thought it was, but I still bought it. So do as I say, not as I do. But, you know, I had a CAS 80 grade Taiwan Chewbacca that I could sell off, which I did, to help offset the overpay for the AFA 85 Taiwan Chewbacca. So, you know, that's how I justify it in my mind. I'm not saying it was the right decision financially, because it wasn't. But you know, anyway, this is the type of figure that you don't necessarily need to really sweat finding. You know, there's going to be many of these that come up at auction eventually. And I think, I guess, I mean, hopefully I'll remember this one so we can compare it to the next one I find that's the same grade, apples to apples. But I'm guessing it sells for $260 or less. So, Again, you know, for the common stuff, don't overpay for them. Next up, this is one I showed to my Patreon supporters. I'm still doing buy it now alerts occasionally, even though eBay affiliate program is basically shut down because they think I'm a scammer. I have no idea why. But I sent this one out. I assume that one of y'all bought it because it sold very quickly after I sold it, or after I sent it out to my Patreon supporters. As a, hey, guys, this is a good deal. And I think this was an awesome deal. This is an uncirculated 90 grade Dianoga Trash Monster. So it was $215 plus $7 shipping, which for an uncirculated 90, that to me seems like a bargain of a deal. So I hope that one of you were able to get that. I think that was a really, really good deal. And I was tempted, honestly, I was tempted to buy it myself because you're not going to find many of these uncirculated graded. And to get it for $215, to me, this was an item that was probably underpriced. That's my personal opinion. I don't think it's grossly underpriced, but I bet in an auction it would go for $275 easily. So I think that $215 number was a great deal. Congrats whoever got it. Here is a small head, molded legs, AFA 85 Han Solo. This is one I still want to get. And I was curious to see where this would end up. Now, last year, this was going for like $350 to $380, believe it or not. And this shows you how far the market has changed, right? Volta Yavin's a very trusted seller, so I know it's a legitimate sale. This one sold in an auction for $280. So we're down, you know, let's call that 30%. From even earlier this year, maybe. So this is a very desirable variant. The painted legs is obviously the more desirable variant for this small head Han, but that's a number I'd pay. $280. I'd like to pay $250, but I think realistically $280 is kind of more in keeping with where the market is right now for an 85 grade. But I thought that was a very fair deal as well. Here's another one I sent out to my Patreon supporters in a buy it now alert, and I'm shocked by the final sales price. It was listed for $500, and I sent it out to them. I said, hey, it's got to make an offer option. But if you guys remember from my loose, complete, ungraded videos, these, and not even in that graded condition, these three-legged Droid Factory R2-D2s are going for $300 to $350 pretty consistently, and not nearly in 80 grade condition. And, you know, the other thing I like about it is that the sticker on this one is not peeling off like I see on even some high grade examples. So I sent it to my Patreon supporters. It sold. I put it in my what to buy video, but it sold before the what to buy video went live. So I'm assuming that one of my Patreon supporters got it, but it was listed for $500. Now he accepted an offer of $400 on that one. So he came off 20% off that list price. So $400 is a no-brainer buy, in my opinion, for the Droid Factory R2-D2 in an AFA 80. That's a number I'd pay in a heartbeat, and I'm glad that one of y'all were able to get it, hopefully. I haven't heard from anybody, but I assume that one of y'all got it. Next up, this was another one that I did not see get listed. I just found it when I was looking through sold listings to kind of fill up and pump up the number of items for this video, but this one would have been very tempting. It was a CAS 90 grade Poppy Hoth Stormtrooper. This is one of the more expensive variants. I didn't look up what the last one sold for on Hakes, but I can tell you it was substantially more expensive than this. I want to say it was over $2,500. Now you can argue, okay, hey, it's CAS 85s or 90s don't sell for what an AFA 85 or 90 go for. I get that. But this price was so substantially below the Hakes value that I think it's a combination of the fact that it's CAS versus AFA. It's straight 90s, though. I mean, give me a break. You could take this and send it as is to AFA. It's going to come back in 85. I can promise you that. I'd be shocked if it didn't. But someone got this for $901 in an auction. And I'm really tempted. I wish I had looked it up before I started this video to see what the last one sold at Hakes, but it was easily the most expensive, I think, other than maybe the Vader that sold. If you guys remember, maybe 2 Hakes sessions ago, there was like a lot of like 50 of them. All the different poppies were for sale, and I think the Vader sold the most. But I want to say that the Hoth Stormtrooper finished second. It might have been third behind like a Luke X-Wing or something, but $901. I can promise you that is a significant discount relative to the last one that sold at Hakes. So if you happen to buy that, congratulations. That was a great buy. Really, really steal of a deal there. Here was that 3-pack that I showed, and I apologize. I need to make a public apology to my Patreon supporter, Matthew C., because unbeknownst to me, and it was after I filmed my what to buy video, he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about bidding on this. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I just put it in my what to buy video, so you're going to have a lot of competition. But I think I did tell him, you know, privately that I think it'll sell for around $550, and it did sell for a little bit higher than that, but not much more. So I feel like my what to buy video didn't affect the final sales price on this one too much. But in the event that I did affect this final sales price with my video, Matthew, I'm sorry, because I know you're going after it. He's got to focus on all these Jabba's goons, Jabba's denizens, and he was interested in it. So I don't think my what to buy video helped him out very much when it came to the bidding process. But it was an AFA 80 Sears 3-pack with Klaatu in a skiff disguise, Nikto, and then the 8D8. Torture droid, or Jabba's droid. So, but anyway, it did sell in an auction for $582. So I wasn't too far off with my estimate of $550. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting one. Here was another what to buy item. This one went out to Patreons. I don't know if it sold or not to one of them, but it was a CAS 85 FX7 Orange Eye, and it sold for $95 plus $5 shipping. That's a price I'd pay. Very fair price, I think. And a nice display case, by the way, from CAS on this. I like how they display that. It displays a lot better than how AFA does it, in my opinion. A couple of different Yodas sold. I was very tempted on this one. I really was. And shout out to Dustin B. He sent it to me. I'd already had it on my watch list, but he sent it to me because he knows I'd love to have one of these. But this was the Spanish Pac Yoda gray head, graded UKG 80%. Had some wear to the hands, but it was graded UKG 80. I think it was fair. And it was the Spanish Pac with the Hong Kong stamp on there. Now, I do have, coming back from CAS, a mint on card non-Pac gray head Cater Factory Hong Kong Yoda. So this one would have been nice, and it's obviously the Spanish figure for this one. But anyway, this one was a beauty. And it sold pretty quick. You know, I didn't even have a chance to send it out to my Patreon supporters in a buy it now alert, but it sold for 299 pounds, which is $375. That's a number I'd pay in a heartbeat. I think that's a really nice example, and I do love the gray head. I've already pre-sold my mint on card gray head Cater Yoda because I'm trying to free up some cash for other things, but I'm kind of second guessing myself. I wish I'd kept it now because the gray head is kind of a cool variant. Next up here is that apple-headed Yoda that was an AFA 80 that I showed in a what to buy, and that one sold for $320. So I was surprised it went that high, just given that was an 80 grade, but it certainly is nice. I think that the color difference between the head and the body and hands, it's so stark on this particular example that I think it's just kind of a cool conversation piece. Relative to some of the other variants that you can get for Yoda. So I thought that was cool. I don't know if I paid $320 for it, but it was an auction, so that's what the market bears. But I was thinking it would kind of end around $260, $275, but very nice example. Here's another example of one that I think is kind of an overpay. This was an AFA 85 Taiwan Luke Jedi. It was listed for $400 and it sold for $380. 380 is too high. That's too high for this one. In an auction, this goes for $260 to $270 right now. So, in my opinion, no offense if you bought it. I mean, it's certainly a beautiful example, new case style, and it's still got the green band around the cape there. So there's a lot of desirable aspects to this particular figure, but I still think that 380 is too high. I think max maybe 300, but anyway, it is what it is. I mean, somebody was willing to pay it. Here's another one that, in my opinion, was an overpay, although it's very high grade. It's a 90 plus Taiwan, so it's the same figure. 90 plus. It was listed for $495. The best offer accepted on that one was $430. And some people like the AFA case style for Luke Jedi. I prefer the CAS style. I just think it presents really cool. But to me, $430 is that high? Probably. Now, if this, I'm not saying that, if that's what you want, go for it. But to me, I think that a blue lightsaber variant for Luke Jedi in a 90 plus grade from CAS, that's a number I'd pay $430 for all day long. But I'm not sure if I do it for just a normal Taiwan figure. That Taiwan's pretty common. Here's another overpay in my opinion, although it's certainly nice. It was a CAS 90 Tusken Raider. Tough to get a 90 on anything. I don't care if it's CAS or UKG or AFA. It's just really hard to get a 90 grade. This one sold for $455. Now, I bet in an auction it sells for sub $300, personally. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, that number seems high. Also, what I don't like about CAS with the Tusken Raider is that they don't label it the dark brown paint scheme versus the standard paint scheme, the way AFA does. This to me looks like, unless this photo's been manipulated, it looks like the dark brown paint scheme for the bandolier and the hands and the face mask. So I just prefer AFA's labeling for the Tusken Raider personally. But to me, $455, that's not a number I would ever touch. That's way too high. Next up was a Last 17 Luke Stormtrooper AFA 85. So, excuse me, CAS 85. There's a big difference there, okay? And I'm not trying to crap all over CAS. It's just a fact that AFA graded, especially for these white figures, they're always going to sell for a lot more money than an AFA 80, or excuse me, than a CAS 85. So this one was a CAS 85, and it was listed for $1375, which is insanity. And the insane price that was accepted was $1169 is what I have down in my notes. That's way too high for a CAS 85. I think a CAS 85 in an auction sells for $650. So I mean, again, I'm not trying to crap all over you if you happen to be the one that bought it, but just be patient in this market. There's no reason to pay $1169 for this figure. That's insanity. I just think it would sell for half that in the current market. I've seen AFA examples sell for sub $700 now. So you know, $1169 is what an ungraded Power of the Force, man, that's probably aggressive, but an ungraded mint on card Power of the Force Luke Stormtrooper will probably set you back $1,500. Somewhere in that ballpark. And so her loose graded CAS 85, $1169, way too high on that. Here was a CAS 85 Imperial Dignitary that was listed for $425. That one sold for $375. Now that's not a gross overpay in my opinion, because it included the coin here. And I really do like how CAS displays it with the coin. I think this is a better display than the AFA where they grade the coin and then they grade the figure, then they put the two cases inside of another case. It's too much acrylic. This is a much better display, a much cleaner look to me. So $375, that's not terrible. That's not a terrible. I think it's a slight overpay, but not by much. Next up was a UKG 85% A-Wing pilot. That was a beautiful example, really clean. And that one sold for $370 US dollars, 295 pounds. So again, is that number fair? You could argue that the silver chest apparatus on this has a lot of wear to it, and it's probably overgraded a little bit. You know, the figure got a 90 paint 85. I don't know how it gets an 85 when it has the paint wear to that silver chest portion the way this one appears to do. It might be reflections or just bad lighting or something, but to me, that looks like paint rub on that chest apparatus. That needs to be, if you're going to get an 85 for the paint, that's got to be fully silver, in my opinion. So, looking at it from other angles, you can see it's got very obvious paint wear to that. So, no way that this is a paint score of 85%. So, you could argue that this is probably overgraded. I bet if you crack this one out and send it to AFA, it would get an 80 at best. 80, maybe 80 plus, but I think more like an 80. But anyway, it is what it is. $370 took that home. Here was a yak face. I had this one in a what to buy. This is Cashel Retro Trader. I thought this was very fairly priced, just given what yak faces are doing right now. Even loose, ungraded examples are selling. I've seen them sell as high as $660 in an auction for ungraded. So to get a UKG 85% for the same price, no brainer. That's a price I'd pay right now. Yak faces have not come down at nearly as much as some of the other stuff we look at. Why? I don't know, because they seem to be pretty numerous, but this was an AFA 75 plus R2-D2 pop-up saber. It was listed for $850. The best offer accepted on that was $800. Not a terrible overpay at all. You know, I've seen loose ungraded examples in similar condition, maybe even slightly worse condition, sell $650 to $700. So that one sold for $800. And this one was a U85 grade old case style that sold for $1250. So that's a pretty big dichotomy there, right? You know, 75 plus for $800 versus the U85 for $1250. Pretty big price difference, but it is a big jump in grade there, plus the uncirculated designation. And then finally, this is another figure that's bucking the general trend of a decline in prices. And I don't know why it is, but it is what it is. This is the cartoon version, Ewoks version of Wicket. And it was graded CAS 85 plus, so very high grade, but even ungraded on Facebook, on like Deal or No Deal, they're going for $600 plus. This one sold for $700, and quite honestly, that's fair market value right now. It's insane how much that one has gone up, but it's just a very desirable variant apparently. and must not be very numerous in terms of the population of them out there, because even ungraded, they are going for big boy money, even on Facebook, where you're not paying any eBay fees. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Just looking at some of the stuff out there. Patience is the key right now. Wait for those auctions and maybe you can get a good deal. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.